Kind of talk to me about the perception of this election cycle in Canada.
Yeah, it's interesting for me because I come at this from a fairly unique perspective in the context of I'm a Canadian citizen. I live in Canada. I'm at my school right now that's in Canada, but everything I do basically is covering American politics for a number of reasons. Number one, I always say Canadian politics, there's not a lot that actually happens in Canadian politics, which for better or worse is probably a good thing. Canadian politics, I always make this analogy in saying that for 3 weeks in Canada, one of our biggest political stories was the fact that they wanted to relocate our official science center, which is like a museum. Whereas in the United States, in 3 weeks, you have an assassination attempt, you have one president stepping down as the nominee of his party. And so it's very much more an upbeat type news environment. I certainly do think, though, that from the perspective of a Canadian looking in, I think a lot of people in Canada in particular are frankly feeling a little bit grateful that we do not have as much tension in our political system, so to speak. For the most part, like even our Conservative Party in Canada, our most recent Conservative leader before the one that we have now was someone by the name of Aaron O'Toole. And a lot of people would actually classify his beliefs to be more along like a Democratic type spectrum. He was very much pro-choice, he was all these types of things, and that's a common trend amongst conservatives in Canada. They're very socially liberal in the sense of, again, pro-choice, very pro-LGBTQ rights. And so looking in, it's interesting because a lot of Canadians are fairly unanimous in their stance against someone like Donald Trump, against wanting to bring in kind of American-style politics to Canada. You have people like our current conservative leader, who's actually probably one of the farther right conservatives that we have in Canada right now in our country. And even looking back, one of the further right conservatives that we've had in kind of our political climate. And a lot of people are worried that he's going to embrace kind of that Trump style politics. And so they're taking action to kind of try and prevent that to the best way possible.
That comparison of just what happens in 3 weeks in the US versus Canada. I mean, I'm considering changing citizenship. I think I think I'm moving. But that is really just different to talk about because I really do believe that most Americans can at least agree, no matter where they're at on the spectrum, our politics have become personal. And it seems that as we become more personal in our politics, less is being accomplished.
Yeah, and I would say it's not even about personal. I mean, that certainly is true, but I also think it's just there you're moving away from policy and more towards like character kind of attacks. More again, I said this earlier, more like drama-based politics. Like it's not very often anymore that you'll turn on cable news or see something in the media that is talking about a policy debate. More often or not, it's, Donald Trump said this about Kamala Harris, or, Kamala Harris said this about Donald Trump, and it's very much a back and forth. And I think a lot of people are kind of tired of that, and it's contributing to kind of a sense of apathy that people are feeling, not just in the United States, but in a number of different countries right now. And so, yeah, I mean, I think certainly people are kind of just watching, hoping for the best as we head in to November 5th on Election Day. I know as a journalist who has been covering this, I'm sure you feel the same way. As much as I love elections, as much as I love campaigns, I will not be sad when this campaign is over. I think it's been a very drawn out campaign. Making another Canadian analogy too, our election cycles in Canada only last 36 days, whereas election cycles in the United States last a significantly long time. And so, as much as I enjoy covering American politics, I think the US could perhaps learn and adapt some of our Canadian kind of concepts and ideals that we have here to make for a little bit of a less kind of dramatic political environment.
Yeah, that is really true. I mean, a lot of us who cover politics, we cover politics because we love the nuance of it. We love all that. But also, there comes a point